Welcome to the deep dive. We get straight to the core of big ideas, and today we're tackling something that really pushes back against, well, almost everything most of us learn about money and work. Think about it the usual path, right? Get a good job, climb the ladder, save up. But what if there's a totally different way to think about wealth? About financial independence. So our deep dives today, it's based on a summary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Our mission really is to figure out why so many smart, hardworking people feel, well, financially stuck sometimes. We'll do this by looking at two really different ways of thinking about money. The goal, give you a shortcut to some key ideas that might just reshape how you see building real wealth. Okay, so at the heart of this book, you've got these two father figures. There's Kiyosaki's actual dad, his poor dad, highly educated, good government job, successful in that traditional sense. And then there's his rich dad. This was his friend's father, a guy who dropped out of school, became a self-made businessman, and got, well, incredibly wealthy. What's really interesting is that both were successful, kind of, but their ideas about money, work, saving, investing, completely different, worlds apart. And that contrast, that's really the core of the book's insights.
It really is. And Kiyosaki, he jumps right in, challenging that narrative most of us grew up with. His big idea: rich people don't work just for money.
That sounds almost, I don't know, radical if you're used to the 9-to-5 grind.
Yeah, but his point isn't just about not working. It's that they aren't simply trading their time for cash. Their whole mindset, their whole approach is geared towards making money work for them. It's not about working harder hours. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about income and value.
Okay, so they're not chasing the paycheck, they're building systems, right, where money flows to them. But how does someone even start that shift, especially if you rely on that steady salary? Kiyosaki says most people get stuck in this, like, cycle. Fear and desire driving everything.
Exactly. Rich Dad points out this cycle. You've got the fear of bills, fear of getting fired that pushes you to work hard, and then desire kicks in. You want nicer things, comfort, so you spend whatever you earn. It's like running on a financial hamster wheel.
Right. Stuck in place.
So the first step out, according to Rich Dad, is building financial intelligence. And it's less about complex math, more about understanding how money actually works, learning the rules of the game.
That makes sense. But even if you get it intellectually, breaking that habit of working for the paycheck must be tough. So what's the practical starting point? This kind of leads us to lesson 2, doesn't it? Why financial literacy matters so much. Rich Dad's big thing was, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. You see people earning loads, but still living paycheck to paycheck. Why does that happen?
Well, often it's because they spend money on things they think are assets, but Kiyosaki would call them liabilities.
Okay, so what's the difference then? His definition is key here,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely crucial. His
Okay.
definition is super clear. An asset, something that puts money into your pocket. Think rental properties bringing in rent, stocks paying dividends, a business generating profit.
Got it. Money coming in.
Right. And a liability. Simple. Something that takes money out of your pocket, like your car loan payment, credit card debt, even a big mortgage on your primary residence if it's just costing you money each month.
Wow, yeah, that hits home. Looking at my car payment after reading that
Mm.
definitely takes money out. It forces a reevaluation.
So understanding that flow is critical. Financial literacy, knowing how to read the numbers, understand an income statement, a balance sheet. The book really hammers this home as essential.
It's the language of money, basically. And if you don't speak it, you're playing the game with a massive disadvantage.
Which flows right into lesson 3. Mind your own business.
Yeah, the advice here is to shift focus. Stop spending your whole life working for someone else's business and start building your own. And importantly, this doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit your day job immediately.
Right, because that's the conventional path, isn't it? Your job is your main thing. How does Kiyosaki suggest handling that? He talks about actively investing in income-generating assets, things like stocks, bonds, real estate rentals, maybe even intellectual property, like a book or a patent, stuff that can eventually grow and provide income streams totally separate from your job. It's about building something that works for you.
So you start thinking like an entrepreneur, even if you have a regular job.
Exactly. Track your personal finances like a business. Build up that asset column, that portfolio, so it grows whether you're clocking in or not. It's about active building, not just passive saving.
Okay, and thinking like a business.
Huh.
That brings us to lesson 4, taxes and the power of corporations. This is where it gets really interesting. Maybe a bit controversial.
Well, it pulls back the curtain a bit. Rich Dad taught that the wealthy understand the system, the legal system, the tax system, and they use structures like corporations to their advantage.
It's like they're different sets of rules.
In a way, yeah. He highlights the difference in taxation cycles. The rich, often through a corporation, tend to earn first, then spend on business-related expenses, and then pay taxes on whatever profit is left.
Okay, earn, spend, then tax.
Whereas the poor and middle class typically earn, then get taxed right away. Think income tax withheld from your paycheck, and then they spend what's left over.
Earn, tax, spend. That sequence makes a huge difference.
It's a massive difference. So by setting up a company, certain expenses, maybe travel, meals, certain education, can potentially be classified as legitimate business expenses. They're deducted before the profit is taxed. Kiyosaki points out the irony that income taxes were initially meant for the rich, but over time, the burden has arguably shifted more heavily onto the middle class.
It's a strong point about how the system can be navigated differently if you have the knowledge and the right structure.
It's really about understanding the legal framework. It's not about doing anything illegal, but using the available structures like corporations effectively.
That's quite an insight. And it leads nicely into lesson 5. The rich invent money.
Yeah, and obviously this isn't about printing fake bills.
Right. Not literally.
It's about creativity. It's about financial education, allowing you to see opportunities. Rich Dad believed wealth wasn't just luck. It was about identifying possibilities others miss and having the courage to take calculated risks.
So how do we cultivate that ability to see opportunity?
A big part is a mindset shift he talks about. Instead of saying, I can't afford it, which shuts down thinking.
Which is the default for many of us.
Exactly.
Yep.
Rich Dad taught him to ask, how can I afford it? It's not about being reckless. It's about forcing your brain to problem solve, to look for ways to find or create solutions. It opens up possibilities.
So combine that question, how can I afford it, with actual financial knowledge.
And suddenly you can start to create money through smart investments, finding undervalued assets, starting a business, spotting a need, and filling it. You're creating value, essentially.
Seeing potential where others just see, I don't know, a problem or an expense.
Precisely. Which ties into the next lesson, lesson 6. Work to learn, don't work for money. Another one that feels a bit backwards at first.
Yeah, work to learn, not for the paycheck.
Rich Dad's advice was to sometimes choose jobs based on the skills you could acquire, even if the pay wasn't the highest initially.
He mentioned specific skills, didn't he? Like sales, marketing.
Yes, sales, marketing, communication, leadership, skills that are broadly applicable and valuable in almost any venture. Think of it as investing in yourself, in your own human capital. These skills allow you to build things, to generate value far beyond what a single salary pays. It's a long game.
So the more skills you have, the more options open up. The real goal isn't just job security, it's financial freedom, built on continuous learning and self-development.
Exactly. Building a toolkit, not just relying on one tool or one income stream.
Okay, wow, lots to unpack there. Let's try and boil it down. What are the absolute core takeaways from Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Okay, 5 key ones really stand out. First, an asset puts money in your pocket. Simple.
Second, a liability takes money out of your pocket. Just as simple.
Third, you have to learn the language of money. Accounting, investing, how markets work, it's non-negotiable for building wealth.
Fourth, the poor and middle class often work for money. The rich make money work for them. That's the fundamental shift.
And fifth, financial freedom, being able to live off your assets, your investments, without having to work, that's the ultimate objective.
And just to make that contrast crystal clear, let's quickly compare the two dads' beliefs again on job security.
Poor Dad, get a safe, secure job with benefits, stability.
Rich Dad, build assets that generate income. True security comes from owning the income source, not the job.
For education.
Poor Dad, school is everything. Get good grades, get a degree.
Rich Dad, school is important, but financial education is essential. Learn how money actually works in the real world.
What about money itself?
Poor Dad, focus on saving money. Be frugal. Put it away.
Rich Dad, focus on investing money wisely. Make it grow, make it work hard.
Then the big one, assets and liabilities.
Poor Dad, your house is your biggest asset. The American dream, right?
Rich Dad, your house is often a liability, especially if it's just costing you money month after month. An asset pays you, that distinction is huge.
Okay, risk.
Poor Dad, avoid risk. Play it safe. Don't lose money.
Rich Dad, learn to manage risk. Take smart, educated risks. See risk as linked to opportunity.
And finally, Work.
Poor Dad. Work for your income. Trade time for money via a paycheck.
Rich Dad. Work to learn new skills and work to build assets. Focus on growth, not just earnings.
What a stark difference in perspectives. It really makes you pause and think about your own assumptions, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that final thought from the book sort of sums it all up. It's not how much money you make,
It's how much money you keep
how hard it works for you.
and how many generations you keep it for.
Hmm?
Powerful stuff.
It really leaves you with a question, doesn't it? For you, listening right now, what does this way of thinking about assets, liabilities, financial intelligence mean for your path?
Yeah, maybe start observing the world through this lens. Look at how money flows, what people treat as assets, and maybe, just maybe, start your own journey of financial education. Start figuring out how to make your money work